Watch a dog for long enough and you will see it sleep, eat, chase something, sniff something, sleep again. Watch a cat. Watch a bird. Watch almost any animal in a natural environment. What you will not see, what you cannot see, because it does not exist in them the way it exists in you, is boredom. Not the kind you feel, anyway. The kind that sits in your chest like a slow pressure. The kind that makes a perfectly comfortable afternoon feel unbearable. The kind that sends you reaching for your phone not because you want anything specific on it, but because the alternative, being alone with nothing happening, feels like something you cannot sustain. Boredom, as humans experience it, is one of the strangest phenomena in the animal kingdom. And understanding why you feel it, where it comes from, and what it is actually trying to tell you, reveals something profound about what it means to have a human mind. Let's start with what boredom actually is. Psychologist John Eastwood at York University has spent decades studying boredom and defines it as the aversive experience of wanting but being unable to engage in satisfying activity. It is not the absence of stimulation. It is the absence of meaningful stimulation. You can be surrounded by noise and still be bored. You can be in the middle of a conversation and still be bored. Boredom is not about what is happening around you. It is about whether your mind can find purchase, whether the available experience feels worth the engagement of your attention. And attention is the key word here. Because boredom is fundamentally an attention problem. Neuroscientist James Danckert at the University of Waterloo has shown that bored individuals show reduced activity in brain regions associated with attention and goal-directed behavior, and increased activity in regions associated with self-referential thought. When you cannot find something worth paying attention to, your mind turns inward. And what it finds there, unresolved worries, uncomfortable memories, the shapeless dissatisfaction of a life that does not feel fully engaged, is often worse than whatever you were trying to escape from. This is why boredom feels bad. Not just inconvenient, genuinely aversive, a mild form of suffering. And it is why researchers now classify it not as laziness or weakness but as a functional signal. Boredom is your brain telling you something. Specifically, it is telling you that what you are currently doing is not worthy of your cognitive capacity, that you are capable of more engagement, more meaning, more challenge than this moment is providing. In this sense, boredom is a uniquely human problem because it requires a uniquely human capacity, the ability to imagine something better. Every episode of boredom contains within it a comparison between what is and what could be. Between the flat, undifferentiated texture of this moment and the imagined richness of a moment that would actually matter. Animals do not make this comparison. They do not sit in the present moment wishing it were different. They simply are in it, or they are not. But you can imagine otherwise. You can conceive of a version of this moment that is more engaging, more meaningful, more alive. And the gap between what you can imagine and what you are actually experiencing is boredom. This capacity, to imagine alternatives, to project yourself into possible futures, to evaluate the present against a richer standard, is one of the defining features of the human mind. Psychologists call it mental time travel. And it is the same capacity that allows you to plan, to create, to build toward goals that do not yet exist. The same cognitive machinery that makes you capable of writing a novel or designing a building or loving someone across decades is the machinery that makes you capable of sitting on a train feeling vaguely miserable about nothing in particular. Boredom and imagination are two faces of the same coin. But here is what makes boredom genuinely interesting rather than merely uncomfortable. Research consistently shows that boredom serves a purpose. It is not a bug in the human operating system. It is a feature. Psychologist Sandi Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran a series of experiments in which participants were bored before completing a creative task. The bored participants significantly outperformed the control group. The theory is that boredom activates daydreaming, and daydreaming, the default mode network firing in the absence of directed attention, is one of the primary sources of creative insight. When your mind is understimulated, it begins making connections it would not otherwise make. It wanders into unexpected territory. It combines things in novel ways. The restlessness of boredom is, in part, your brain searching for a problem worthy of its attention. This is why some of the most significant creative breakthroughs in history were preceded by periods of enforced stillness. Newton and the apple. Archimedes in the bath. Darwin on his daily walks. Einstein playing the violin when he was stuck. These were not accidents. They were minds that had been given space, minds that had been, in some sense, bored into creativity. The modern world has made this nearly impossible. We have built an environment of infinite distraction, specifically designed to prevent the experience of boredom. Every moment of understimulation now has an exit ramp, a phone to reach for, a video to watch, a scroll that never ends. And we take these exit ramps constantly, reflexively, without even noticing we are doing it. We have become so practiced at escaping boredom that we rarely stay with it long enough to experience what it is trying to give us. And what it is trying to give us is a signal. A signal that this situation, this activity, this relationship, this life, or some part of it, is not engaging the full depth of what you are capable of. That signal, if you can tolerate it long enough to hear it, is one of the most valuable pieces of information your mind can produce. Philosopher Albert Camus argued that the experience of absurdity, the confrontation with the gap between human desire for meaning and the world's silence on the matter, begins in boredom. It is in the moment of boredom that you are forced to ask, what do I actually want? What would actually matter to me? What would make this moment feel like it was worth being alive for? These are not comfortable questions. Which is why we reach for the phone. But the capacity to tolerate boredom, to sit with the discomfort of understimulation without immediately escaping it, is increasingly recognized as one of the most important psychological skills a person can develop. Research by Eastwood and colleagues shows that people with higher boredom tolerance report greater life satisfaction, higher creativity, stronger sense of purpose, and lower rates of depression and anxiety. The people who can be bored without being destroyed by it are the people who are most capable of finding what they actually find meaningful, because they are not constantly medicating the signal before it can be heard. Boredom is not your enemy. It is your most honest advisor. The dog does not get bored the way you do because the dog does not imagine a richer version of this moment. It does not hold itself to a higher standard of experience. It does not carry within it the restless sense that something more is possible. You do. And that is both the burden and the gift. The next time boredom settles over you, in the waiting room, on the commute, in the quiet of an afternoon with nothing scheduled, try something unusual. Do not reach for the exit ramp. Sit with it. Let it be uncomfortable. Ask what it is telling you. It knows something about you that your distractions have been working very hard to keep you from hearing.